Hi, welcome to Mental Health Matters. I'm Shannon Eliot. On today's show, we will be looking at the critical yet often forgotten link between mental and physical health. Cardum Harmon serves as manager for Alameda County's 10 by 10 campaign. For years, she has educated children and adults on a more balanced way of living. As a person with lived mental health experience, an artist, and mother of a 6-year-old, Cardum believes in supporting the whole person and promoting choice and recovery. Dr. Marcus Penn is a public health doctor, holistic wellness advocate, self-care coach, and certified yoga teacher. He also has more than 10 years' experience in facilitating meditation. Dr. Penn founded selfcarereform.net, a website designed to shift the focus of healing and wellness back into the hands of the individual. He currently serves as a media and medical liaison for the Alameda County 10 by 10 campaign. Welcome, Cardum, and welcome, Dr. Penn. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for
Glad
having
to be
us.
here.
Cardum, could you kick us off by telling us what the 10 by 10 campaign is?
Sure. The 10 by 10 campaign is about extending life expectancy by 10 years in 10 years for those who are suffering from severe mental health issues. And it was said that a couple years back, about 2006, that those with serious mental health issues tend to die 25 years earlier of physical diseases. And these diseases are usually those that can be prevented. They have modifiable risk factors. Generally, it's the diseases like diabetes, metabolic syndrome, respiratory diseases, HIV/AIDS. And so a lot of these diseases can be caused by internal and external factors. And so the 10 by 10 campaign is all about taking a holistic approach to wellness so that we're not just focused on treating the illness or the diagnosis, but we're treating the person as a whole person.
So why do people with mental health issues on average die 25 years sooner than those who don't have mental health issues?
I would say that the risk factors for those suffering from severe mental health issues tend to be high in external and internal factors. Internal, it could be physical habits like smoking or not getting enough exercise, obesity, maybe not seeing the primary care doctor often enough. And then again, there are reasons why those activities aren't taken as well. A lot of people are dealing with issues of poverty, of discrimination, of distrust of the medical establishment. They may have had some negative experiences with their primary care doctor. And so those are all factors that keep people from pursuing their health optimally and also on just a basic level. Also, people who deal with depression or major depression, bipolar schizophrenia, diagnosed that way, may tend to isolate, which also means that you're not interacting maybe with those around you, so that can lead to not getting exercise, not getting out. Also, there are factors like diet. So the nutritional value of some of the foods that they can afford or are in their neighborhoods may not be healthy, may not be beneficial. And also the side effects of some of the medications that are prescribed for these quote-unquote illnesses may also have side effects that can lead to diabetes and other diseases. And so there are multiple levels and ways that people can be adversely affected while trying to manage their mental health challenge.
So you mentioned there were various levels and various facets of wellness. Could you describe that a little bit?
Sure. Well, one thing I wanted to mention also, I don't think I did before, was the 8 dimensions of wellness. So there's the social element, which means getting out, being in connection to your friends, family, and community. There's the physical, which is, again, is getting out. There's also environmental. Are you living somewhere that you feel supported, you feel safe? Is the air quality clean? Is it some place that helps you feel a sense of well-being? Occupational, do you have a job? Do you have a way of supporting yourself and your family? It's hard to be mentally well and stable if you don't know how you're going to put food on the table or keep a roof over your head, or whether you have a roof over your head or not. These are all factors that definitely contribute to, I think for anyone who, whether they're dealing with a severe mental health challenge or they're just challenged by general life things that happen to us, you know, with a depressed economy, or maybe they're feeling alienated from a sense of belonging within their community or their family.
So today we are focusing on the link between the emotional and the physical dimensions. Dr. Penn, could you describe the relationship between mental and physical health?
Yeah. When we think about mental health, if our mental health, as in just being physically active, moving, our mental health tends to parallel that. So there tends to be a direct correlation, physical and mental health. And also on the converse, if mental health happens to be low, or someone's in a depressed mood, someone may not feel as active. So there's that direct correlation. It's also important to recognize that there can be a chemical imbalance when there may be some mental health challenges. So, and that's why a lot of these psychotropic drugs will try to balance that. But the key, as we think more holistically, is to comprehensively address a mental health challenge, which just kind of can connect with the whole person. So as someone, actually just today, I had run around the block, and and after one runs, there's that feeling of kind of that endorphin rush. And those are natural psychotropic drugs that our body makes naturally. So, I'd like to think that having that positive correlation of physical with mental health, that one can think that if one is in a mental health challenge or going through some lived experience, that anything that can shift a certain direction of either a repeated cycle in one's mind or repeated behavior. It's trying to find something that can help move one out of that, and changing certain physical habits can do that.
So everyone has different things that are good for them. So what might help one person when they're in a bad space might not help another. How important is it to have that personal gauge and really know yourself?
You know, it's quite important. You know, speaking about self-care, it also has to do with a lot of self-awareness, and that it can happen over time. You know, so I think a lot of folks, even just at the end of a day, can feel tired, or just feeling bad about something that may have happened at work. Some folks can recognize that and either take a little time out, as we say, but sometimes folks, sometimes we may not be able to, we may not have as clear a vision of what's going on. We just know what we're feeling, but not sure why we're feeling. So, so that can happen. The sense of self-awareness can come from having more interaction with others, and sometimes it may be a challenge to make that call to someone, just saying, I'm not feeling as well as I want to. So having a sense of dialogue can help build that sense of self-awareness, so someone can observe how someone's been feeling for 1 week versus another week. That can help one to see their progression and movement through a certain challenge, mental health challenge.
You mentioned that if someone's not feeling quite mentally well, they might be fatigued. They might have symptoms of being tired. What other symptoms could there be, physical symptoms, of someone who has a mental health issue?
A lot of times, thinking about, let's speak for depression. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can just feel just like the flu, aches and pains, chest pains, and even catching a cold. There's a lot of times that correlation of just one's immune system with perhaps having a depressed mood. Also, there can be, we talked about fatigue, but there also can be lack of sleep or excess sleep. Again, in the case of depression. Sometimes also when we think about schizophrenia, there can be, obviously we hear people speak about different voices, or someone's behavior becoming much more up or much more down, more than one's just kind of average way of being. And also there can be overeating or undereating, so it's just kind of monitoring the excesses or the extremes of normal behavior.
So what does it look like when a person's mental and physical health are in balance, and what does it look like when they're not?
I know, I mean, from personal experience, coming to this, Dr. Penn was talking about coming into the awareness of how do you know when you're up? How do you know when you're down? And sometimes, if you haven't been down before, you may not recognize it if it occurs. So I had my first bout of depression. I believe it was in 2004, and like he mentioned, I thought I had the flu because I was tired all the time, and I just didn't want to do much, and I just laid around, and did very minimal things. And I also felt like I felt as if I had a cold, and then I realized I haven't been around anyone, so I don't think I could have caught anything. And so in going through that process, I realized there were ways, one, of working out of that. And usually it was getting up, getting outside, getting connected to nature, feeling something greater than myself. Because I know with depression, it tends to make you very insular and just feeling like no one understands, and you begin to disconnect from your environment. And so, having kind of not forcing, but saying, I'm going to take that extra step to open up the door or to pick up the telephone. As well, when I began managing it, I realized that feeling my feet planted on the ground definitely helped me feel a sense of connectedness. Having eye contact with those who when I walked down the street, I would, normally you looking away or you're looking down, I would just be very mindful of connecting with those around me. And again, feeling that sense that there's something greater than my world and my experience. And then inevitably my mood would lift. And then I could say, oh, yes, this is what it feels like to be happy again, as opposed to, oh yeah, that feels really low and very down and lethargic.
When we last spoke, you talked about being able to respond to your inner critic. Any words of wisdom or advice on how to do that in your experience?
I would say, actually, as an artist, responding to my inner critic has been a practice, a discipline, in really just being in the present moment with what it is that I'm doing. And even if thoughts come in, just noticing that they're just thoughts. They may not belong to me. They may have belonged to someone who told me something when I was 6, that staying with what I am doing in the present moment, not judging it, allows me to be able to have compassion for myself, and having compassion for myself allows me to have compassion for others as well. And so the inner critic is a big part, I know, personally, and from what research has said, about depression. There's that early trauma that a lot of times we were responding to, even on a subconscious level, and we don't realize that that critic it may not have started out being us, but we have internalized it to the extent that we do start to own some of that misinformation.
Dr. Penn, what can people with a chronic physical illness do to stay mentally well?
Thinking about just in the case of someone who may be, as we say in the church, sick and shut in, may just be bedbound or largely bound to one room. It's important to have positive reminders, positive visuals, bright colors around, perhaps even wearing brighter colors. It's important for folks to bring, flowers, natural things, and that's why it's good to have plants around, in that it reflects life, in brighter colors. Other thing, as a medical doctor, I think, prescribing laughter is very important too. Watching a, comedy DVD, or someone has internet access. There's a lot of funny videos on YouTube. Always fun to see, cat tricks or dog tricks or whatnot. So that's one thing. And again, that's where visual, tangible positive reminders are very important for someone who may be confined to one place. Also, it's important to have a balanced diet as well in consumption. If there may not be physical activity, there can be positive diet, and also maintaining a sense of connection to the world. Windows, being by windows, feeling natural sunlight, and if someone may happen to be confined to, say, a wheelchair or whatnot, it's important to feel the sun, and even physiologically and psychologically, just having sunshine on the face is important. Vitamin D synthesis physiologically and psychologically, just feeling an embrace from the sun. All those could be very beneficial for someone with chronic disease or chronic illness.
You also mentioned the importance, which we all know, of a balanced diet, easier said than done. But how does nutrition relate to mood and the management of emotions?
Right on. Think about just we can put just a simple correlation. Eating a slice of pizza or eating some fresh broccoli. How is one's body going to feel after that? Tend to feel better with more natural or perhaps uncooked foods. But also, when we think about just food content, that with more saturated fat, more cholesterol, those tend to be literally more heavier foods. And when there's foods that are a little more heavy, then that can kind of weigh someone down and also weigh their mind down. So it's important to balance with more natural foods, even just colorful foods. All your apples, oranges, strawberries, bananas, all those, very good. And I think that correlation with diet and mental health and just overall wellness and well-being is a great reminder of self-care. What we consume, what we consume can affect our mood. And tends to be, and there tends to be the more colorful food that one eats, the more colorful we can say their mood may be. So I think that's a good rule to go by as well. But yeah, it's a definite correlation with food and meditation.
Cardum, I know your office had a raw food demonstration recently, and you were really affected by that. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and its effect on you?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I never thought that I would be somebody who could be satisfied or fulfilled just eating raw food. I mean, I couldn't even imagine it. Usually you just think, okay, a salad. That's about the extent of going raw, or a bag of carrots or something. But we did learn to combine different foods, fruits, vegetables, together that even gave kind of the feel of eating other things. Like some of the combinations of these fruits and vegetables seemed like you were eating rice, or you were eating tuna, or you were eating cheese, and it's just a different way of orienting yourself around what is a whole meal. Also, I thought, well, man, I'm going to be starving. I'm not a rabbit. But I found that, so we would get these large portions of food, but I thought, okay, well, that's really not going to fill me up. Maybe we would get a portion of food for 3 days, and I would think, yeah, right. But when I started to eat it, I realized that it was filling me up so fast, and I think it's because of that. We were taught, the raw enzymes and the high fiber content and all of that actually is easier absorbed by the body. And so you're actually retaining more nutrients than you would be with processed foods. And so I felt satisfied, and I definitely, even if I felt full, I didn't feel sluggish, which is something different, So if you eat like, mashed potato, which I love, mashed potatoes, chickens, and, string beans, I tend to want to lay back afterwards. But if I was eating a kale salad with some avocado and, some jicama, then I noticed, okay, I can eat this, I can feel full, and then I can go and do something else. So, yeah, it was definitely a different way of, it was a leap of faith, but it was also a willingness and an openness to try something new, and I definitely received the benefits. Weight loss was definitely a part of it. and just an overall sense of being, as Dr. Penn was talking about, being in tune, that sense of alignment and oneness with one's, the mental, being clear, being crisp, not having that fogginess, and then my body feeling light and clean. So yeah, definitely. And I think for a lot of us, it requires, baby steps. So for instance, last night my son had some friends over, and they live across the street, so usually they switch off eating at each other's houses or snacking. And I was making my son some food. I gave him some chicken and some fresh bell pepper and some raw carrots. And those are things that he likes, I guess, the colors, but also the crunchiness, and then the saltiness of the chicken and that type of thing. And his friends came over and asked if they could have some too. And I know, and that they weren't familiar with what those vegetables were, but they ate it, And so I think a lot of it has to do with just introducing yourself, your children, that person you may be caring for, just gradually with maybe a fresh vegetable. Definitely people are usually more comfortable with fresh fruits, but start where you are, start where they are, and it doesn't have to be a big to-do. It could just be a gradual change.
There's a perception out there that eating healthier is more expensive, fast food is cheap. So do you agree with that?
Well, I do think that fast food is convenient. I don't particularly think in the long run that it is cheaper. Not even mentioning like the long-term adverse health effects from it that one pays for in medical visits and that type of thing. But also, you may eat a burger and then, for the drive-through, and then 20, 30 minutes later want something more. And so you may feel like it's fulfilling, and so it's, $3 or $4 that you've put down for that gourmet Angus sirloin, whatever. It after a while the benefits leave you, and then you end up craving more. A lot of the fast food also has additives that create an addictive response. Mm-hmm. So that's one. I think that unfortunately, because there are some places that people go that tend to charge a high price for organic food, it tends to be a deterrent for folks who are on a modest budget. There are also farmers markets. There are also other food places, options to shop. The Berkeley Bowl actually is a good place to get fresh fruit, fresh produce and vegetables and grains and healthy food choices. And their prices really aren't that much more than going to a Lucky's or a Safeway, or even a convenience store. I mean, a lot of people may live in these food deserts where their closest store may be the corner liquor store or the convenience store, and they may charge $1 for an apple. So of course, if you say, well, I could get 6 nuggets for that amount, but that's not really the right place to go to get fresh fruits and vegetables. So.
Dr. Penn, I know you're a runner and you love it. Could you tell us why we usually feel better psychologically after exercise or other physical activity?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Those natural chemicals that we have in our body, those feel-good chemicals, are endorphins, I'd mentioned before, and our body releases those after we do some sort of strenuous activity. In effect, it's like our body giving it a reward, after work or after working out or running, any good physical activity, and that also helps, again, elevate the mood, help one just feel better overall.
So we're in a unique moment in history with Obama's Affordable Health Care Act being upheld by the Supreme Court. What impact do you see that act making on this 25-year statistic? Do you think this legislation will lead to a decrease in this number? Why or why not?
Well, one would definitely hope. I mean, there's going to be a firm concentration on preventative health care, a lot of funding going towards that. So the hope is to have less people in the emergency rooms and more in doing the regular checkups because it will now be affordable. and everyone will be able to have health care. Also, there's that the combination, the combining and the integration of primary care and behavioral health care. And so, for instance, in some of our service centers, there will be not only a mental health care provider, but also a primary health care provider making visits and checking in on the clients. And conversely, in physical health care settings, there will also be a behavioral health care specialist there as well. So really, again, it's looking at the 10 by 10 approach, that holistic approach to just not saying, okay, we're gonna wait until this person gets sick and then medicate them. We're gonna help them and empower them to make a decision ahead of time to be able to make smart choices for better health down the road.
You know, and when we think about even just the title of the act, it's Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. You know, so it's about the patients, about being more patient-centered, and with there being a whole slew of preventive care services that are now free without any copay. You know, mental health screenings, immunizations for children, mammography, certain cancer screenings as well. That's not only patient protection, that's patient empowerment. You know, and I think that's really important for this act as it moves forward. And I think as folks become much more educated about the U.S. Affordable Care Act, then they can know that these services are available. And also, I think it's important to see that keyword, that integration, that integrative health, is the new paradigm, the new way in which our health can help make our country that much more healthier.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, Dr. Penn, for being here today, and thank you, Cardum. I learned so much. Really appreciate it.
Pleasure indeed.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
To learn more about the Alameda County 10 by 10 campaign, visit alamedacounty10by10.org. Self-Care Reform is a website that shifts the focus of healing, health, and treatment back to the individual. To find resources and workshops in the Bay Area, visit selfcarereform.net. To learn more about SAMHSA's national 10 by 10 campaign and for resources on the 8 dimensions of wellness, visit samhsa.gov. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.